Yeah, we got a lot of people. So some are mine, some are other people, some are Nadia's, some are Jake's. But this will give us an attendance log at the end,
Okay.
so we can see who, figure out what class they came from. Okay, sharing. Share. You can't see. Just well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Bridge to Brilliance. We're doing something a little bit different this month. We are having what we call a simulcast. I am gathered now with students and faculty and staff in the University West building in room 104. So we have some folks live, but I know most of you are online. So thank you online folks for joining us for this. We have a really fantastic guest speaker for Bridge to Brilliance this month. Many of you who watch the local news are going to recognize him instantly. He is the chief meteorologist for the Victoria Television Group, Mr. Maclavio Perez. And I should tell you that Maclavio has immense experience in meteorology and climate science. He's taught climate science at various universities. He's been in a number of TV markets from San Antonio to Los Angeles to Corpus Christi. And we're so blessed that he decided to accept our invitation and come to little old Victoria. But Maclavio's seen a lot. He's seen the wildfires. He's seen the earthquakes. He's seen the floods. And his coverage was so good that it was award-winning coverage that other journalists looked at his coverage and said, wow, this is how you want to report the weather. He's done a number of other things besides weather, and he's going to talk about a little bit those things. One of the things that I think is especially significant is that he is a founding member of the National Association of Hispanic Journalists. That is huge. And those of you joining us who are interested perhaps in journalism, this is somebody that you can certainly follow up with. But even if you're not interested in journalism, this is a great resource to have in your professional network. He's, like I said, won a number of lifetime awards, especially from the Boy Scouts of America and the Golden State Media Association. And he is a member of the Hispanic Hall of Fame and the LULAC organization. So when I say we're very proud and very excited to have somebody at this caliber to come to UHB, I really, really mean that. And I hope his presentation today goes beyond the weather, goes beyond all of those things, and inspires you in a way to accomplish whatever dream and goals that you all have. And so he's going to make a short presentation, and then we're going to sit down and have more of a conversation. And we invite everybody in the room and then everybody online to join in that conversation. If you're online, we're going to have an opportunity for you to write the questions in the chat, or you can raise your hand, whichever works for you. And we want you to be part of that conversation. So without further ado, let me introduce our guest, and let's hear a round of applause in our live studio audience for Mr. Maclavio Perez. Maclavio, welcome. Thank you, sir. I'm giving you the remote.
Thank you so much.
Let's load your PowerPoint.
Do I roll here by myself first, or
you're gonna go ahead by yourself for a bit. Let me load your PowerPoint, and then we can get going.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is the story of my life. Actually, it's not that big a deal, but you know what? Along the way, maybe there were some things that happened to me that could happen to you. So maybe you can use some of this to further your position in wherever you want to go, whatever your dreams are. I'm currently serving as the chief meteorologist at Channel 25. I'll tell you how I got to Victoria a little bit later on. But let me go because I got to get through these slides quickly before Woodrow starts asking hard questions. All right. My family came to the Rio Grande in 1751. People say, go back to your country. And I'm going, I should say that to you because we were here in the time of New Spain. They came to what is the Rio Grande because there was an effort to populate the river. This doesn't move forward. Thank you. For those of you interested in history of South Texas, this is very important. You see these little lines here? These are called porciones, the portions of property, because at the time, the Spanish government, which was on top of us, said, we need to populate Texas. And in order to populate Texas, I'm going to give you a sliver of land with 1 mile frontage on the river, right there. And then it extends 13 miles inland, okay? Pedro Jose Perez, who was my ancestor, was the recipient of one of those land grants. Here is an old map. Here is Rio Grande City. Let me see where we are. Right here, Porción 83. And we still own pieces of this, even today, 300 years later. So that's how the founding families of South Texas came to this region. Before that, it was the wilds, but Spain wanted to populate it. All right. Of course, 50 years after that, Mexico rebelled and Spain was gone. So it became the Republic of Mexico. And then after that, the state of Texas. And all those flags changed, and my family was still in the same place. So they just keep changing the flag this week to see what happens. So my family was basically a farm family, like many of you. Some of you still have roots on the farm. I had a lot of roots on the farm. That's me here down, kind of acting like a child. But that's grandma, grandpa, and my mom and her sisters. And we go forward. That's me in 1955. So I was a little bitty guy just running around, average kid. Actually, I was a very good kid. I was a very good kid. I was a cowboy with my cousins, as you see right about there, and then forward. And then we had a wonderful, it's one of those deals where, we were dirt poor farm people, but I didn't know. I was having a great time. I was a kid. I loved it. I had a lot of love, and we were very, very close family, even to this day. As a matter of fact, coming in Easter, my family is having a reunion at my grandpa's ranch, and we're expecting about 250 people that are direct descendants of that family. And so I was very fortunate. I've had a lot of breaks in my life. I was an altar boy. And because I was an altar boy, I got to speak on the microphone. Because I spoke on the microphone at church, a gentleman hired me for a job at a radio station. He became my mentor. He gave me, he was one of those guys that gave me a kick and said, boy, you're going to the University of Texas. Going, where is the University of Texas? I had no idea. So we moved forward. So I got to start in broadcasting in radio back in the old days. And when we were spinning records, wait, go back, move forward. That's a record. That's a vinyl record. We're playing albums. Hello. Those are my early days. But as my mentor basically told me, you're going to Austin, son. And I wound up at the University of Texas. And this is the KDVC, the station that was in Austin that I got a weekend job at. So I was still a student, but I needed some money. So I went to work doing what I could do, talking. And so they gave me the job. I got on camera and it was okay. And let me be very clear. Let me be very, 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 I'm very honest. That's one of my problems. I was a DEI hire. During the era of affirmative action, they had to have at least one minority in the newsroom. I was it. I got hired, got a job, made a career out of it. Thank you very much. Now they're getting rid of that. That's okay, because you know what? Now you can go to school You can learn, you can get training, you can get going. And you're not going to have anybody saying, oh, I forgot to tell you, my mentor was a gentleman that had been on radio in South Texas, very popular disc jockey. He was rock and roll music with Ed Lionel. I met him, he introduced himself to me, and I found out his name was Eduardo Leonel Gomez. He had to change his name. So when I asked the silly question, what name should I use? And he grabbed me by the throat and said, boy, you're going to use your daddy's name. Yes, sir. So that's why I kept the McClodio all these years. So I was very fortunate. I got an early start. Here was the first anchor team I worked with at KDBC, Channel 7 in Austin. And you're not going to believe this. Who was the owner? Lyndon and Lady Bird Johnson. And then Lyndon died. So I got to cover the funeral for the radio station. Then I knew Lady Bird. And then I moved on after I graduated. My first big job out of the university was in San Antonio. I, being from the Valley, which is small little towns, I died and went to heaven. I had never seen a city that big, that exciting, that welcoming, that outgoing, that party, that fiesta. I just had a wonderful time as I arrived. And I say this because I've never seen a Hispanic American middle class. We were, farm people. My dad had a little grocery store. Never saw, the big finer stuff. Here I'm on TV, I'm in San Antonio, I'm meeting people that own companies, industries, doctors, lawyers, all this stuff. And I was very welcomed by them. I was fortunate that I made a lot of very good friends. So then I got a job in San Diego, California. Now, for those of you that know the movie Anchorman, I want you to see something. That is the map that they used in Anchorman. Okay? Go look at the movie and look at the map. There are white letters, white numbers, and white squigglies. That was my map. It's in the movie. And we also had hair like that. But hey, I was styling back then. Go forward. My first degree is in journalism out of the University of Texas. My second degree is a BA in broadcast meteorology out of Mississippi State. And then I was very fortunate. I was doing so well in San Antonio, they called me from LA. So go forward. I had no idea where LA was. I was thrilled at the opportunity, and I got to be part of this team right here. And I went out to Los Angeles in 1980, and there's Connie Chung. These are all, distinguished people, and I got to be part of that team. I was young. I was 30 years old, but, I had a lot of hair back then. I looked good. Anyway, along the way, I've had many very, very dear friends. This is Sylvan Rodriguez. I consider him my big brother. He was 3 years older than me. He was a writer for the Daily Texan, and then he was an anchorman in Houston for 25 years. This is John Quinones. Some of you know him from what you do.
Nightline.
John and
Dayline or something.
Dayline, right. Yeah, John was nothing. We just let him hang around, Okay, John, whatever, But anyway, John and I have been friends since way back then. So here's me. Here's the map. There's the guy I worked with, and this is Ron Burgundy.
Wow.
Is there a resemblance? Look at that. There's my map. I worked with Harold Green, and there's Ron Burgundy. So I'm going, they're following me. All right, next picture. All right, so, and not so much about that. We'll talk more about it later, and certainly we can always come back and visit at length.
So let's do some questions,
Okay.
and then we can come back to this.
Q&A, keep it real quick.
Q&A.
Q&A.
So right now, we're going to start with our studio audience. If y'all have some questions, and if you don't, I've got a whole list of questions that I wanted to ask too.
No,
And then
not fair, not fair.
online, if you have questions, please feel free to type those in. Ms. Spencer is looking at your responses. If you want to raise your hand online, you can do that too. But let's start with our students gathered here. As
Hit me.
Maclavio was telling his story, what kind of questions might you have so far? Yeah.
Yes.
Any other career choices that you had in mind, or was it just?
Oh, yes, yes. Uh, um, Being from a small town in South Texas, I had been blessed by being in a very active, aggressive, and successful high school music department. My teacher, Mr. Webb, became my mentor. Um, I was very good in music. He helped get me a music scholarship, and I went my first year in music as a degree. Then I realized I wasn't going to make any money doing this, so I said, "No." I left, went back to broadcasting, and moved along those lines. I wish I could tell you that I decided I was going to be a broadcaster. It just happened to me. The opportunity was there. I was ready. I walked in. I did it. Ultimately, what I tell the little kids, when you get a job, you're either part of a group or you're an individual. Okay? If you're a teacher, you all get paid the same. If you are a fireman, you all get paid the same. If you're you're part of that group. If you're an individual, you could be an NBA star and make millions. In my business, you're an individual. If you succeed, if people watch, if there's ratings, which means revenue, money, then you stay. If you think you're the greatest guys in your life and nobody watches because they don't like you, they don't trust you, they just don't like your personality, then you're out the door. It's like a salesperson. Salesperson is it's a specific kind of person that knows how to present, how to take no, how to turn it around and say yes and make a sale. Because at the end of the week, if you came back and you made no sales, there's no job because there's no money. So that's the individual kind of person issue. And next question. I could go on for hours, but I'm trying to get this quick.
Did he give you
Yes,
some?
yes.
Excellent. Other questions from the live audience? We've got some online.
Everybody asks.
We've got
how
some
much
online.
money do you make?
Maclavio.
Everybody asks.
How much money do you make?
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay. All right, here's one from Desiree.
Yes.
Would you say that having a mentor was imperative to your success?
Yes.
Do you mentor others now or have you in the past?
Absolutely. A mentor is crucial. Absolutely crucial. Your degree, your training, all of that, that's very good. But you've got to make somebody a friend in the business who actually cares about you and is concerned about you to show you which way to go. No man is an island. Everyone is related to someone. Everyone refers to others. The answer to the question, there's probably 25 people in broadcasting today that I got them started. And I can say that unequivocally. They can tell you the whole story. I'm very proud of them. For a while, I taught communications at Cal State Northridge in Los Angeles. And from my students, there's at least 8 people in communications today. One of my students is the bureau chief for CBS News bureau in Dallas. In other words, you think CBS News is everywhere. No, they're not. They have 5 or 6 people around the country. She handles Texas, Mexico, Latin America, and she's always looking for stories. If she finds a flood, a hurricane, a fire, a revolution, immigration, whatever, the train coming from Mexico with immigrants, she gets the story. So that's her. But I can go on. And yes,
Let me ask you, for the students here, for anybody online, would you be willing to mentor them? And what would that look like? And are you doing that now with other folks in the community?
Okay, number one, I've only been here a year and a half, almost 2 years. I would be happy to take anyone to train. I'm training someone now. We have a new weatherman that just got hired for the TV station, just got out of college. He's working part-time, but he wants to get started. His degree is in atmospheric sciences. You know what he knows about television? Nothing. He don't know a camera. He don't know an edit. He don't know writing. He don't know any of that. I'm being very casual and cavalier, but they gave him to me. I have to train him up to be on the air. He's a good-looking kid. I think he's got a great career ahead of him. He's got his education. He's got his will. He listens, and we're getting him on the air. Very soon you'll see him. His name is Jacob Lozano. He just got out of school a year ago. And so that is and let me just say the following. There's in front of the camera, and then there's behind the camera. There's technical, and there's editorial, where you're writing stories. And what is now the bane of my existence is social media. I hate that. I hate that because social media and the cell phone is killing my business. Television, local news may be going away. It may be disappearing because your generation doesn't watch it. We're still the older generation. They were there with us. But those are the people that grew up with Walter Cronkite, 6 o'clock, what's going on in the world? Those days are gone now that media has been divided into see, it used to be, now it's micro media, little bitty slivers. Problem is, I only make money with ratings from television. I had 100,000 viewers on TikTok. Well, okay, I make $10, whatever that is. The point being is that social media is not a career path unless someone hires you to handle that for them. We'll do more on that.
So we have students and online as well who might not be interested in careers in journalism or television or weather, but still like what they're hearing from you in terms of life experience. And would you be willing to sit down and just talk to them about how to do an interview, how to communicate with people that are different, life lessons that you've learned, and could we share your contact information? We have a slide here, McCall, real quick, because that's the questions. We're getting several questions in the chat about, I want to contact Tommy. How do I contact him?
I got an
So
email.
I'm going to go ahead and share that
Sure.
so everybody can see it. But for students here, how can they contact you?
It's real simple. McCloviop@hotmail.com. Just anybody can contact me there. Just my first name, letter P, at Hotmail or Outlook or Live, whatever they call it now. But I started at Hotmail. I also have a work address. It's mperez@morganmurphymedia.com. That's why I gave you my little one. That was our company, Channel 25, and the 6 stations that are inside that building are owned by Morgan Murphy Media, and that's who I work for right about now. All right.
How the email address still work?
Yes, that's perfect. VictoriaTelevision.com. It's the same thing as Morgan Murphy Media. And so please, and like I said, we are the Victoria Television Group because we are all these affiliates that run out of one building. Back in my day, that was unheard of and impossible. You were an ABC affiliate and you did your best to be the best ABC affiliate in the country. You did your best to be the CBS affiliate. Now affiliations are falling apart and they're grouping like this because it's easier. It's, shall we say, it's cheaper. Back in the early days, we got very involved in who our brand was, who we represented. And, probably the majority of my life, I was a CBS person. Now, in fact, my check used to come from CBS Black Rock in New York. But now I work for Morgan Murphy Media. All right. You live in hurricane country. Did you know that? Did you know that? Okay, good. All right. Beautiful day. Surf's getting up a little bit. And then the next slide will show you that all of a sudden something is arriving. And for those of you who know a little bit of history, the year 1900, 6,000 people drowned in Galveston, Texas. A hurricane came in and they didn't know about it. And they did not evacuate. What's the difference between 1900 and 2025? Information, communications, satellite, television, radio, all of that technology prevents that. Does this work?
There's an on button on the side.
Oh, on the side?
Is it pointing at the computer or the
I don't
screen?
have to do anything once it's on. Battery may be dead.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
We'll do it
You
manually.
can flip. You can flip. There you go. This is obviously Katrina, which was a big storm that happened not too long ago. I was working that night. And Katrina, of course, destroyed Louisiana and most of New Orleans. And the reason why, here's the thing. This is a long discussion, but I'm going to make it real short. They weren't ready for a hurricane, and we are not ready for a hurricane. We can go forward. The reason being that, okay. Is that the button? Okay. Let's go forward. The reason is that in the Atlantic Ocean right here, we have in the summertime, what's called a subtropical ridge, big bubble of air like this. And it gives us the wind that comes from the African coast across the Atlantic. If Columbus had asked me how to get to the United States or America, I could have told him, look, Columbus, go down off the coast of Africa, find those little bitty islands, get your boat, your sailboat, and you will sail like a balloon all the way across the Atlantic and wind up in the Caribbean islands. That's exactly what he did. But that's the same wind that brings us the hurricanes. So in effect, the Gulf of Mexico is the catcher's mitt for many of those storms. Now here is an example. Here's the west coast of Africa, Cape Verde Islands. This is called the main development region. Storm grows in the warm waters of the Atlantic, and then boom, they either go to the East Coast or to the west or to Texas. And of course, once it gets into this gate, we're going to be in trouble. So we got to get ready for it. Now, a lot of people ask about Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3. Well, those are the categories of the storms. So if you are a tropical storm, you're right here, 39 to 73 miles an hour, and no major problems. If you're a Cat 1, you've got winds now 74 to 95 miles an hour. Your barometric pressure drops, and your storm surge, the ocean water, comes 4 to 5 feet on the land, on the beach. Well, you say, oh, well, yeah, that could happen. If you get to a Category 3, you're not talking 110 to 130 mile an hour winds. Does that really happen? That really happened. It happens all the time. And that's when you get a storm surge of 9 to 12 feet. And let's go back one because this is important. And then the Category 5, which is currently considered the worst hurricane, winds at or greater than 157 miles an hour, and that brings a storm surge of 18 feet onto the land. I am not kidding when I tell you this. We are debating adding a Category 6. Okay? We are debating Category 6 because you know why? I'll tell you why. A storm can grow to a 5 and then weaken. But if it were to grow to a 5 and stay a 5 for 5 days, that's a whole ordinance full of energy that's expended. So you cannot compare those two in terms of energy. These were just based on the wind speed, the surf, and the damage. It's really not a very complicated scale. But the Category 6 is coming through. We can go forward now. Thank you. Here's what I'm talking about. Here you have sea level. Okay, here you have the beach where you play. And as you know, we have the high tide, we have the low tide because of the moon. Well, if the storm is arriving, it's going with the winds like this, and the lower pressure actually makes a bulge. So the sea level rise, and here is storm surge, which is way above the beach, and the storm tide comes in and blows your house down. Funny here, but what if it's your house? You know? And those of you who may or may not know, today you have to build on stilts if you're in a certain zone by the beach. This is Bolivar Peninsula, and as you can see, the storm came in and blew them away. Here, the surge came through and then went back out. But the house stayed. If it had been on the surface, like they do on Padre Island in Corpus Christi, they'd be gone. Next. And this was Harvey. Harvey, of course, many of you lived through. It was, I mean, we can talk about this for hours. Harvey came up, and then it went through our area, right through here, went up toward Giddings, and then turned around and came back out, and then went out this. So every path of every storm is different, and every one is unique. This is the 1 7-day rainfall, and of course, that was the biggest problem with Harvey. Well, the winds weren't exactly easy either, but the 7 to 10-inch rainfall here is a problem. It happens. It will happen again. It may happen this year, next year, the year after that, but it will happen again. So let me ask you this. If you move to Alaska, would you take a coat with you? Yes, because you know that it's going to be cold. If you move to the Texas coast, should you know about hurricanes? Yes, because it may happen to you. And of course, the 50 inches of rain that happened in Houston was one for the record books. It blew our minds. I mean, that's like, oh my God. We couldn't believe the numbers that we were seeing. All right, moving forward. I am a climate scientist. I have been talking about climate since the 90s, okay? And the reason is that I worked in Los Angeles where there is no weather. 6 months of the year, it rains, but for 6 months, all we have is smog. And I became a smog expert in that world. I did a bunch of stories, did a bunch of seminars, studied in university, but also doing the stories, I got a couple of awards for what I was doing. This gentleman, let's go back a little bit. This gentleman is one of my personal heroes, Dr. Charles Keeling. Dr. Keeling did something that today is still working, and I'm going to show you about that. Now, he installed a sensor on top of a volcano in the middle of nowhere, on top of Mauna Kea in Hawaii. You ever been to Hawaii? There's nothing but water for 5,000 miles. It's a rock in the middle of nowhere. And on that peak, since 1958, we know the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. We need carbon dioxide. It's important to life. It's important to green things growing and for us breathing. I just make carbon dioxide every time I talk. But I'm going to tell you why it's important. Let's go back a little bit. Here we go. In 1960, our carbon, this is parts per million. If you had 1 million marbles, 320 of those marbles would be carbon dioxide. It's nothing. 1990, 95, when I started talking about this, we were already up to 350 marbles per million. Today, we're up at 450 marbles per million. And you go, well, I can't see it. Of course you can't see it. It's a colorless gas, but we know it's there. Next time. One of my personal heroes, 1978, Mr. James Black was a researcher, a scientist for Exxon. He wrote a paper before computers, before Canva, before anything. And he wrote this following paper. The Greenhouse Effect, J.F. Black, Products Research Division, Exxon Research and Engineering. The Earth's atmosphere presently contains about 330 parts per million of carbon dioxide. This gas does not absorb an appreciable amount of incoming solar energy, but it can absorb and return part of the infrared radiation, which the Earth radiates back towards space. CO2, therefore, contributes to warming of the lower atmosphere by what has been called the greenhouse effect. They knew that in 1978. I mean, in fact, we do that back in the 1800s. That carbon dioxide is the gas that warms the atmosphere, which makes the planet habitable. You take out all the carbon dioxide, we would be the face of the moon. Nothing would grow. It'd be 100, 500 degrees one day, minus 500 at night. That is what makes the planet. And this is his summary that he gave to all of the Exxon vice presidents in 1978. The summary of my talk is presented in view graph 18. In the first place, there is general scientific agreement that the most likely manner in which mankind is influencing the global climate is through carbon dioxide release from the burning of fossil fuels. There's no question. Pretty definite. Next picture. Then they began the propaganda. I call propaganda, everybody speaks propaganda. Think about it. I sell you something because I want to influence you into doing that. My propaganda is don't jump out the window, it's a long way down. Okay? My propaganda to you is brush your teeth, it's good for you. My propaganda to you is drink Coca-Cola, it'll make you strong. Propaganda. So what is my goal? Well, 70% of our pollution in the atmosphere and carbon dioxide comes from burning of gasoline. Okay, period. That's undeniable. This is, Berkeley has a very good research facility on the world is getting warmer, annual mean land and ocean temperatures below our average. So we start at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, 1850, steam, coal, oil. Yes, 1900, oh, the world war. We started a growing economy. We started building buildings and cars. And 1950, yes, 2000, oh my gosh, what's happening here? Our temperature is now more than 1 degree Celsius above what we had before 1850. That's called the 1850 is called the baseline. So here's, go ahead, that's fine. So welcome to Houston. I could fix Houston in about 30 days if they let me. They're not going to let me because I would change things. Here is a map of Houston. Here is Galveston, Baytown. Here's I-10. Here's Channelview, San Jacinto City, downtown Houston. What is out here? The refineries. The refineries emit crap into the air all day, every day, and look where it goes. To you. So here's my, oh, and then here's the other one. I can talk about this for hours. Gas production in conventional fields of the lower 48 states. Every one of these red dots is an oil well or a gas well, which is kind of the same thing. Yeah, you notice where they are? Yeah, notice where they are. So you think they're going to let me change anything? Next picture. Propaganda. Information which is false or emphasizes just part of the situation used by the government or political group to make people agree with them. Okay? So, you know, you can say, well, I'm doing propaganda. I'm speaking against somebody. But then they're speaking against me. And so here's the question. You have rights. I know you have rights. But your rights stop right here until they violate my rights. Okay? You have a right to have a business. Yes, but you don't have the right. Let's close the door and bring in the exhaust of a car. Bring in the car. Turn it on. Sure. What? You can't see anything. It's not good for you. You would do this. Do me a favor. Tomorrow morning, get into your car in your garage with the door closed and read your emails. Please don't.
Yeah, isn't that bad?
Yeah, that would be bad.
Okay.
That would be bad. But guess what? When you open your garage door, where do you think all those fumes go? To my house. They float right over there. So, you know, we live on a collective planet. We all live here together. How are we going to do this? The combustion process, you think you burn 10 gallons of gasoline when you put 10 gallons in your car. You don't. You burn 80% of that. The other 20% comes out here in the tailpipe as uncombustioned exhaust. That's why you see smoke coming out of the tailpipe of your car. Next picture. Well, I'll tell you why Elon Musk is being a friend with Trump. This is a Chinese electric vehicle. It's better looking. It's runs longer, runs faster, has better batteries. You think he wants Chinese cars sold in the United States? Hell no. So that's the reason. Now here's one. This is Greta Thunberg. Greta is now almost a young lady. She started when she was 13 years old, telling people the following. I am telling you there is hope. I have seen it, but it does not come from the governments or the corporations. It comes from the people. Why? Well, now we can have a long political discussion here. As you know, we have a president. We have a House of Representatives, and we have a Senate. A Senate has 100 people in it, 100 people. If I take $1 million and give it to 100 people, I can stop any legislation that you ever wanted to do. I can stop the president. I can stop the Congress. The Senate says no. Why? Because no. Do you have a good reason? I don't have to have a good reason. I don't think it's a good idea. Because he put $100 in my pocket. Lobbying. Does it occur? Every day. Unfortunately. I wish it were different, but that's what's happening. So, my friends, you. My generation screwed up. We bought into the lies about where our planet is going. And so to that, I say, there is no planet B that we can go to. Oh, we're going to terraform Mars. Oh, really? And who's going to give me a ride? There's only one planet. So your choice is the following. This life or move forward, or this life. It's up to you, and I mean this in all sincerity, that your generation has to make a difference. It's real simple. Get an electric car, use LED bulbs, insulate your house so that your refrigeration doesn't go outside. It's not complicated. It's not simple. It will grow the country and the economy. But certain industries don't want you to change anything. They like the way the game is played right now. End of my discussion. Thanks. That's it.
All right, so we're going to open it up again for questions. McClavion's going to get a drink.
Yes, sir.
And then we've got some more questions online. And then those of you here joining us, if you've got questions, we want you to ask those as well if
Hit
you
me.
can.
I'm
So
very
those of you
fluent.
here live, what questions do you have for McClavio?
Well, let me just tell you this, the following. In the television business, not that you're interested, or if you are interested, the larger your market, the city, the more money is made. Therefore, the more professionals they can hire. When I started in Austin, I wasn't paid a whole lot, but I was surviving. San Antonio, I got a promotion. I did a little bit better. Los Angeles was gravy train. I was having a wonderful life. I was making very good money, but I also had a responsibility of bringing in an audience. Because if I didn't bring in an audience, I was out the door. So now think about this for a minute. Young, full of hair, Mexican-American from the Valley in South Texas, doing the weather in Los Angeles, and Johnny Carson is watching me. It was a bit of a burden. But I didn't look at it as a burden. I just said, I'm going to be me. That's the only person I can be. And I started doing the weather my way. And whereas I studied the meteorology, I wasn't there to baffle people with my brilliance, you know. I wasn't there to confuse them. I was there to tell them what's going on. I did 100 stories on what Los Angeles did to eliminate the emissions into the atmosphere for pollution. I got a couple awards for that because they said, well, you explained it. You know, people didn't get it. For example, the one thing we did, not we, but the state of California didn't. When you drive your car to the gas station, you park it right here, right? You get the gas nozzle and you put it in there. And on the old summer days, we used to watch and we used to see the little vapors go up into the atmosphere. And we think, oh, how cool, optical illusion. No, that's bad. Those are volatile organic compounds that are floating into the air. They're not going to Mars. They're going to stay in the atmosphere for hundreds of years. And they're out there floating. Well, in California, we did this. We got the nozzle, we put a boot on it, and when you put it on your gas nozzle, it clamped with a magnet, and it sucked all those vapors back into the tank. So we eliminated that emission from going into the atmosphere and breaking down into ozone. I could do that in Houston tomorrow. Fix the whole place like that. Other thing we did, as you've probably heard, if you're inclined to, we added the catalytic converters. Well, now, let me put it this way. Lead, there's no amount of lead in your body that's good. No amount. Lead is bad. When they invented the automobile, somewhere in the 30s, they decided to add lead to the fuel, which is an additive, to make it run better. So you had lead burning fuel from the 30s to the 70s. And you weren't burning all of it, it's coming out the tailpipe, going into the air. In LA, we proved that people who lived along the freeways had more lead in their blood. That because they're breathing it all the time. We finally removed that so that you go to the gas station today and you put in unleaded fuel. Right? That's why we have unleaded fuel. What's the big deal? Unleaded. Well, it has no lead in it. That's good. Because if you had a plate that had lead in it when it was made, you'd probably be getting some of that into your system. We're trying to prevent that. That is why we have unleaded fuels now. And go on. Next question.
All right. A question from another student. How do you suggest that we as students contribute to helping prevent global warming? As students, what can they do?
Number one, educate yourself as much as you can. I look forward to your success and career in the future. But consider that everything we do on Earth leaves something behind. The emissions out of automobiles have to be cut. We have now seen a curve because of the electric vehicle. Do you know how many people live in China?
Much.
1.6 billion. Billion. You know how many people in the United States? And it's still so crowded. They're all in Houston. We only have 350 million people. We're nothing. India has 1 billion people. Well, in China, not that I'm in supporting of their government, but they said, we're choking here. We're dying here. You guys stop burning fuel, and they're forcing the electric vehicles with rebates so that people can afford them. And we can get into that. Look at Elon Musk, richest guy in the world. He's worth $100 billion. He could take $1 billion, one of the 100 billion, one, and lower the cost of those cars and still be the richest guy in the world. Why doesn't he do that? I don't get it. I mean, how many billions do you need to be happy? I know. 1, 2, 3.
Maybe
I mean,
4.
4 billion. I'm happy now. I don't know. I don't get it. But I obviously watch EVs very carefully. I haven't been able to afford one until China comes in. I'm going to make a prediction. It sounds really mean and ugly. There's not going to be a Ford. There's not going to be a General Motors in 5 years. They're gone. You know why? Because they wouldn't move. They just said, nope, we're not moving. We're staying right here. We're going to do everything we've been doing for the last 100 years. You can't convince me. They're not going to be there. I mean, they're going to, I mean, literally. Oh, here's the other one. I don't know if you follow Mexico very well. I follow Mexico politics very carefully. Their last president was brilliant. Right now, they have a woman named Claudia Sheinbaum, who is a genius. That woman is the most qualified leader in the world. She's a doctor of physics. She has a Nobel Prize for being involved with the United Nations. And she's president. And she decided, you know what? We're going to build a car that everybody can afford, that's electric. Build it in Mexico, for Mexicans. Well, you do that, you solve the pollution problem in Mexico City. There's 25 million people in Mexico City, all driving cars. Well, she's going to solve that. So are any of those cars coming over here? I mean, this is business, this is politics, this is propaganda, this is your breathing, this is the future. And the only thing I remember from my professor's classes is this: you have no right to foul the air that I breathe. In other words, no smoking in this classroom. But it's true. I'm here. What? You have more rights than I do to pollute my air? Right there, stops. You have all the right to do whatever you want. You have the right to consume whatever you want to consume. You have the right to inhale whatever you want to inhale. That's your life. It's your blood, your body. But when it starts coming into my neighborhood, I'm going, whoa, 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 whoa. What about my rights? Anyway, question.
So we're at the point now where some of our students have to get to their next class. So students, thank y'all so much. For those of you who do have to leave, we're going to continue the conversation for another 10 minutes. If you can stay, please stay with us. Those of you online, we're just going to transition a moment to let the students who have to go to their next class go. But please online, if you can stick with us 10 more minutes. We've got more questions in the chat, so we want to answer those. Thank you, students, so much for coming.
Come across the hall. They did a chance, comes out there also.
All right, so online, we're going to let those students leave, and we're going to continue the conversation now. We've got some questions online, some additional ones as well. So a question online, following up on what you were just talking about, Maclavio, is if there's a need for an increase in electric vehicles, how do you manage the electric grid
Yes.
when you add GWs
Yes.
of load, gigawatts of load to an already stressed out system
Yes.
with no base load generation plants due to the government restriction and overzealous permitting process? Wow, Keith, that's a great question.
Well, he's being very partisan.
Okay.
Number one, if I have 10 electric generators, I can control the emissions out of the smokestack as opposed to 6 million autos that drive in Houston. You get it? You get it? 6 million cars polluting every day versus 6 smokestacks that I can put scrubbers on to control the emissions that go into the atmosphere. It's very simple. Number two, electrical generation doesn't have to be, okay. Down in south in Bay City, Texas, we have a nuclear power plant. Did you know that? Do you know what that nuclear power plant does? It boils water. That's all it does. Because that boiling water creates steam that drives a steam turbine that generates electricity that you use. Problem is, when we finish with the carbon rods that are in there, when we're finished using them because they fizzled out, I'm going to bring it over and leave it at your front door. You take care of it. How about that? Okay. Number three, we should use every roof in the state of Texas to be a solar panel. Number one, your energy use would be lower. Number two, the strain on the grid would be lower. Number three, it'd be a better world. Now, I'm very concerned about energy. I watch ERCOT all the time. And I can tell you the following. Right now, our generation is run with oil, coal, and natural gas. The Dealey Power Plant at Calaveras Lake in San Antonio, that runs on coal from Wyoming. How smart is that? Okay, they have a 99-year coal supply from Wyoming. Number four, if you took a county of West Texas and you went probably 10 miles by 10 miles of solar panels, we would power most of the state of Texas. So the moving forward is easy. It's just the vested interest into the old fossil fuels that's holding us back. And so if we do nothing, you will be able to go right down Highway 59, right to I-10 and Katy. You could be able to gas up your Mercedes-Benz, but you're going to be wearing an oxygen mask. That's in the future, within 10 years. If you don't believe me, go on an average summer day to Houston and see what color the air is that day. Next question.
Okay, okay. Keith, that's a follow-up, but I want to follow up on Keith's. Keith, that was a really, really good question, but I want to follow up on a part of Keith's question, which is, and I agree with this in some respect, the overzealous permit process. California specifically, there are people that are well-intentioned who want to do many of the things you're talking about. They want to make the solar panels, they want to create all these, but all the rigmarole that they have to go through just to get the panels, just to get whatever. What can be done in that respect?
Well, I'm going to quote Saddam Hussein.
Great.
Saddam Hussein said, when there's a person, there's a problem. When there's no person, there's no problem.
Wow.
Okay? Problem is the politics, the money, the people we elect, all of those. I agree, permitting is a problem, but we need to know what's happening. I agree, there's regulation that's ridiculous, but we need to streamline all that down. When we are convinced that this is the path to go, a lot of those things will fall apart. Is there more regulation than necessary? Well, let me tell you. Let me put it this way. Do you know that a corporation is a person? Corporation is a person. Okay? That's the Supreme Court. Not all those persons that are corporations are good citizens. If they were, we wouldn't need any regulation. If they were, then we would all work together for the greater good. But when you start dealing with individuals and money on the table, there's some people whose only loyalty is to that, not into being a good citizen or being a good corporation. Yes, is there confusion and complaints? Yes. But you know what? California is bigger than Texas. They grow more, they sell more, they create more than we do. And I believe now they're about 50% in renewables. So go check those numbers, find out what you can.
All right. One more comment on that. Solar and wind are not baseload dispatchable power and not reliable without batteries.
Of course not.
Right. So that's another potential problem.
Put a battery on it, that's all.
So we are wrapping up. We've got folks, I think you have to get on to your next thing. We're getting to the 12 o'clock hour, but I want to thank so much Mr. Maclavio Perez for coming. I hope this is the beginning of several trips that he comes here to UHB. As you can see, many of these topics we could spend hour upon hour on, and I really appreciate the excellent questions and the good debate that we're having about these important issues. Maclavio, as a token of our appreciation, I'd like to give you this wonderful mug from our Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence. And in the mug, Maclavio, it has a lot of other little goodies and surprises, some things from UHB. But
Are there any Hershey's Kisses in here?
there are no Hershey's Kisses. But
No, there's one on my.
but I can give you one over there. Maclavio, thank you so much.
Thank you,
I
brother.
want to thank everybody for joining us, those of you online, those of you here in person. Please look for more Bridge to Brilliance opportunities next month. And hopefully Maclavio will come visit us again for another seminar at some point.
The future is yours.
Thank you so much. If you need to contact Maclavio, I'm going to put that contact information again on the slides. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thank you, sir.
I get too emotional.
Well, I think you were passionate, and it was a nice kind of debate going on there, which I think is great.
Happy to do it.
That's fantastic.
Happy to do it.
Okay, let me see if we can share this real quick. I'm going to share this contact slide if anybody wants to get in contact with him.
I've done the climate change a presentation maybe 20 times.
Yeah.
Every time I think somebody's gonna start throwing tomatoes. But you know what? With the proof that I show, they just go out the back door.
Right.
Because we know.
Yeah.
You
It's a
know,
good scientific explanation. Come and meet our associate provost, Dr. Danny White. That's so kind. Dr. White's a biologist, so
Oh,
when you're
yeah?
going to the psychology,
Very nice to meet you.
biology, he knows all about
Terrific.
it.
So I started thinking, because you have the background of the climate sciences.
Thank you for saying, really appreciate it.
Special topics.
well, I love it.
What
And
else
go,
do I
even
get to do?
place has.
I need to reassemble this, if you can help me, that'd be great.
They have the agriculture department,
Oh, yeah.
and they're very scientific based.
Oh, absolutely.
And they have, in fact, whenever I need a story to do, I just call them. They got an idea, whether it's bees, whether it's growing, well, and you know the answer, the future is not in arable land, it's in container growing.
Sure. Yeah.
Especially for the small crops that are heat sensitive, because we got plenty of heat, but we don't have water.
Right.
Well,
Hold it in.
if we flip that around and say,